their feet.
All right, well, let's now bring you the story of hope in the midst of despair. About 6.2 million people in Somalia are currently facing starvation, with women and children being the most affected. Our reporter Timothy Otieno now brings us the story of one woman on the front line in the fight against hunger.
The destruction witnessed at the capital of the Horn of Africa country remains clear for all to see. What isn't on display when you visit Mogadishu is the silent suffering of women and children here, who are the greatest victims of an ongoing famine that has seen more than 6 million people at the risk of facing food insecurity. Most of the victims of communicable diseases such as cholera end up in this institution, the Banadir Hospital, that many here refer as a safe haven. But the irony is, for foreign journalists such as us, we are not allowed to do our piece to camera without this protective gear for a place considered one of the safest institutions in the whole of Mogadishu. But just ask 45-year-old Lul Mohammed and she'll tell you her greatest concern is not the ongoing battle between AMISOM forces and the Al-Shabaab taking place outside the walls of this hospital, but rather the turmoil witnessed by medics within this facility on a daily basis. The head of the pediatric unit at the Banadir Hospital in Mogadishu is one among many female medics fighting an even greater battle to secure the health of women and children mostly affected by drought.
Since the drought coming, the number of cases are increasing. Not only the number, but also the death rate also is increasing. And the hospital is facing now an emergency situation.
Lul is the head of a team of female nurses manning these corridors as foot soldiers of hope in a country facing one of the worst drought situations in 4 years.
You came from where?
The situation so severe that it attracted the attention of the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, who tweeted this when he visited Somalia 3 weeks ago. Just arrived in Somalia on emergency visit to focus on famine and cholera. People are dying. The world must act now to stop this. Weeks later, it seems little has been done to alleviate the situation. The bed space at the Banadir Hospital has since been depleted. Mothers with their sick children, mostly ailing from severe malnutrition and cholera, are left banking all their hopes on the understaffed, unequipped medics here, all of whom are working as volunteers.
This month alone, we have more than 500 cases and 13 deaths. That's why the situation, and on the other hand, the response is not well organized.
We find 40-year-old Sonto Hassan clasping to her last-born son. The boy has been admitted at this hospital ever since the famine situation hit fever pitch 2 weeks ago.
He started vomiting he has been vomiting at her house, at her home for 14 days. Then she brought it here, and today is her 12th day in this hospital.
Her story is shared by this woman who is lucky enough to get the attention of the head of the pediatric unit. Her 2.5-year-old child, Felice Ali, is suffering from acute watery diarrhea since 2 days ago. Lul says the child should recover. But the story perhaps may be worse for this child who has since been diagnosed with cholera. Her parents, who live kilometers away from Mogadishu, arrived here days late, and the child passed away just minutes after we left the hospital. It's yet another sorry situation that Lul and the medics here have to contend with, all in an effort to ensure that even though the world is doing little to help the victims here, they are doing the much they can to bring hope in the darkest of hours.